In this video, we talk about Amazon advertising. Our guest, George Meresa from ClearAds, will share different Amazon PPC strategies and metrics you could focus on in order to grow your business and avoid losing money on inefficient Amazon advertising setup. So watch this video. If you like it, don't forget to hit like.
Hi, George. I'm really happy to have you here with me today on Orange Click channel to talk about how Amazon sellers could achieve growth through using Amazon PPC and do it in a way that they're actually profitable. So I think it's definitely a topic that a lot of sellers are interested in. But as always, before we start, could you please introduce yourself and also give us an overview how ClearAds helps Amazon sellers?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm George, founder of ClearAds. I'm in the paid advertising space since 2009. I was mostly Google, and then I went into Amazon around 7 years ago, Amazon PPC. At that point, it was very straightforward. It just had some auto manual campaigns you can build out, and it was easy to put together and do. As time's gone on, it's become a bit of a beast. There's way more options in terms of different placements, ad types that you can put in place with your account, and there's a whole array of tools as well that's available that can help aid the management that you have going. So it's been awesome to see the kind of evolution of Amazon PPC over the years. So that's kind of background. I have a team here in the UK. We all work from the office, part-time and part-time from home. And we all we do is we manage PPC accounts for majority 8-figure brands and a number of 7-figure brands now too. So that's kind of our main focus.
Okay, very good. And just before we started today, we briefly discussed a number of events you have been to, which are all been events for Amazon sellers and where you definitely speak a lot about Amazon PPC. So how many events have you been to this year?
So far, there's been 21 events around the world that I've been to. I only work on one of them, a few of them, but it's really good to just be immersed around other kind of Amazon brand owners and kind of understanding what are they itching, what makes them itch, what's new, what have they tested, what's worked. So we try and keep ourselves kind of in the front line of it all.
Okay, and based on the events and the sellers you see, as we already know that you're not just working inside of the office and with the data point, you actually go around and talk with sellers and you kind of have a pretty good understanding what are their main pain points. So when it comes to scaling the Amazon business, and it's something that a lot of 6-7-figure sellers struggle with or think about usually, they don't know how to scale their business and in terms of PPC as well. So what are usually the first steps, how to approach scaling?
Well, that's a really good question. I think because we do so many audits for so many brands, we kind of a really good idea of the things that are missed. And it's not usually the complicated, fresh things that have been updated by Amazon that they miss. It's usually the very simple things. So Amazon's now given us way more data for us to work with. So one of the things we look at now is the conversion rates on their product. So I think initially it always starts with how is your product superior to everyone else's? What is it that you're providing that's unique? And this is where kind of we need to kind of see if that is something we can see through data and see if the conversion rates are better for their ASIN compared to others. And if not, then that's something that needs to be revised and thought of before coming to a PPC agency. So that's the first and foremost most important thing. There's so many tools out there, like in Tel Aviv and what's the other one that allows you to split test different images?
Picfu?
Picfu, yeah. So you've got tools like Picfu, and they allow you to kind of split test different images, messages, and so on and so forth, just to ensure you've got the right messages. So initially, that's the first thing we see. The second big point that we hear people talk about too much is ACoS. A lot of sellers, they tend to link ACoS with profit and sales and success, and they always come and we always know when a conversation is going to be started in the wrong way when people go, right, can you reduce my ACOS? And that should never be the intention. It should always be focusing more on profit and how can we kind of improve what you're doing through PPC to aid what you got organically to ultimately improve sales. And that's kind of what we're looking for. So especially for those who are 6-7 figure brands, they should definitely be investing in tools like Sellerboard, or there's some PPC tools that have profit data integrated. They should definitely have their cost of goods put into those tools, just so that they can have a kind of a much more macro view of what's happening within their account on a week-by-week basis. Because we've seen time and time again, the ACOS increases, right? But then the profits increase too, and the TACOS remains the same. So there is some argument to pushing PPC harder for certain terms to help with ranking.
Because am I correct that currently on Amazon, if you just look at the campaign manager and let's say the metric you just explained about ACOS, you don't really see the metrics of profitability because you're not able to enter any product details inside of the advertising campaign manager itself, right? You have to have some kind of third-party tool that will allow you to insert all of the product details.
Well, I'm sure you can work out in an Excel sheet kind of your cost of goods and kind of how profitable you are that way around. But it just depends on how many ASINs you got, how easy it is for you to kind of navigate around Google Sheets or Excel to kind of put this form in place. Because at some point it does become slightly more complex, and you probably want a tool to kind of just do it for ease purposes. And these tools don't cost much as well, so it's going to be $30-$40 max that you'll be paying to kind of measure these results. I think the important thing here is just how fast you can get that data, so you can make instant decisions. I think this is where you can really be spending quite a bit of time messing around with Google Sheets and Excel to try and get that information. So that's kind of one thing to bear in mind.
And what would you say when sellers are launching new products? Within those first months of launching and getting the ball rolling, should they focus on profitability or something else to make sure they take the most out of the first period of the product life cycle?
Yes, that's a really good question. So I think that we have one piece of information at our disposal now that we didn't have like a year and a half ago, and that's the search performance query data. So with that information, you can understand which keywords are likely to generate conversions, and more importantly, the volume of conversions, right? You don't want to focus on some keywords, try and rank for them or appear when people search. If they get 10 sales a week or 15 sales a week, you really want to go for these terms that generate a substantial amount of conversions. And this is what's also really important. It's key that when you first launch a product, you're focusing primarily on exact match keywords and focusing on terms that are very relevant and not through auto campaign. And the reason why I say this is because you really want to teach Amazon what terms are related to the specific product. So to begin with, you're not going to make a profit. That shouldn't be your intention when launching. It should be more to really push for conversions on particular terms and reviewing the conversion rates on those terms. Now, if you have an incredibly unique product, which is kind of severely under delivered on Amazon, or have a very compelling offer or price point, then you can expect some profitability there. But you shouldn't really be going into Amazon now hoping to kind of make a profit from the get-go. You really want to see where you can be more superior in terms of conversion rates. So one of my team, actually, they put it into a really good example for me. So when you're first launching a product, it's like you're in a Nissan and you're racing against Ferraris. Like there's no reason why you should be trying to compete for people that are going for keywords that have high sales and they're moving at a fast pace and they've tested for months and months and months and they've seen substantial amount of sales, especially when you have budget limitations. What you really want to do is you want to go for those terms that have a decent amount of conversions, a decent amount of sales. You want to push your products through those terms, and you want to see how does your conversion rate compare to others. Now, if you have a superior conversion rate, then you can push those keywords. And this is the key bit as well. When you figure out where and what terms convert best, they're the terms you really want to push hard to convert better. And then once you start to see that a superior conversion rate, Amazon's on your side. And because what Amazon's looking for is which products have a higher ratio of people looking at the product to buy in, because ultimately they're going to make money on every sale that you make, right? So kind of the goals here are aligned, and they don't really care if there's been a product that's been running for years or it's a household brand. And if you've got a better conversion rate, you will be you'll be seen as superior in Amazon's eyes. And it's funny because we had a discussion with a team like a few weeks ago, and we kind of discussed, okay, what about if there's a term that has a really good ACoS and a profitable ACoS, but the conversion rate is nowhere near where everyone else is, right? Amazon doesn't care, right? With a term like that, you really don't want to push it. You don't want to put any aggression on it. You want to just leave it. But at some point, you will get outpriced by those who have a better conversion rate. So terms like that, you have to keep separately and monitor separately, especially this is more kind of products that are high ticket items and they tend to convert really well. So there's also that to bear in mind. So there's quite a lot to factor in. And this is kind of something that we've kind of learned over the last few months. You know, this is where we as an agency, we used to take a very manual and granular approach when managing accounts, but we're now incorporating tools. And we now, the right tools to put in place, because there's quite a lot out there. But there's two tools in particular that we found from a perspective of an agency that is superior to everyone else. Those two tools are, the two tools at the moment that we're finding superior to most tools out there is PackView and Scale Insights. They are the two that we would definitely recommend using for PPC purposes above everything else. They integrate profit. You can see that information. Their dashboards are really good. You can also then start to see, okay, when does it get to a point that PPC is cannibalizing sales of organic? And then you can then put rules in place, especially with PackView, to say, right, we're already doing well organically with these particular terms. So if I rank position 4 or 5, then start to incrementally reduce my bids for those terms, so that I'm not just spending money for the sake of spending money. I can focus more of that spend on terms where we're not organically ranking, we're getting good conversion rates, and we can push further. These tools also now give you the ability to utilize day parting too. So you can look at data to see, okay, what times of day, what days of the week do we convert best, and let's put more budget into bidding for those terms that convert best during those times of the day and those days of the week, so we can actually take advantage of this additional information. You can do all of this.
I wanted to ask about day parting, just briefly to explain. This is something that just can you explain like what was the latest update about day parting that Amazon did that now gives more data to the sellers? Maybe some it has been around for a while now, but maybe some of us who are watching now don't know anything about it. So just briefly to explain it.
I mean, I've been waiting for day parting for ages because I come from a Google Ads background, so everything that's on Google Ads, it tends to kind of come eventually over to Amazon. Day parting's been something that we've been kind of waiting for a while now. Now, it's not within the interface, so there's nothing you can do with day parting within the interface. If you want to analyze the data, you need to go to Amazon Marketing Stream, I think it is. You got to look at Stream to get that information. But again, there's nothing you can do with that information once you get it from Stream, and even then, it's still quite expensive to get that information. But you have tools like PackView and Scale Insights that have access to information. They can provide you the data to show you when you convert best, when your average cost per clicks are the highest, when you position what. All of that information is there. But on top of that, you can actually action something from that data. You can actually put rules in place to say, right, this is when I want to maximize my aggression with certain bidding for keywords. during particular times of the day. And more importantly, this is the times of the day where I know my products don't sell as well. So let's just cut back on the spend, cut back on the sales, cut back on the spend and impression share that we have during those times, so we can focus more of our attention on the times that do sell well. The beauty of this is you're looking at your own raw data. This isn't third-party information and guesswork. This is your information on data on your products and when they convert best, and then you can take advantage of that information.
So in terms of like ad spending and where the spend is going to, it's a game changer to have that kind of data and to be able to target more specifically where to spend the money at.
Yeah, it's huge. So like there's obviously obvious data where people have compiled a lot of information they found during certain days, certain hours of the day, people are more likely to purchase, and that's just general Amazon information. But you might have a unique product where the majority of your sales come on the weekend, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If that's the case, rather than going in and manually turning off your campaigns through Seller Central, you can actually take advantage of these tools and just automate the whole process. You might even discover, for some odd reason, you have really good conversion rates consistently on a Wednesday evening. Who knows why, but it's there, the data is there, so you can take advantage of it. You can push your bids, push your products during those times to position themselves well, whereas other people in the market might not even know that information, right? They might not know why that's happening. Who cares why? If the sales are coming in during that time and you're picking up these patterns ahead of everyone else because you have access to this information, then you can act on it faster than everyone else, and that's going to kind of ensure you're getting more for your money with your ad spend.
Okay, sounds really good. And I wanted to ask, what do you think, how often the growth is stopped by sellers having like limited budgets, like where they could actually put in more money and actually get out more, but they're just maybe, they don't know they should increase their budgets, or they're kind of afraid to do it?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting question you asked that, especially now. So now, everything's going to move up, right? The search volume is going to move up. Everything's going to move up. Everything's going to move at a fast pace. So you're going to wake up one day, you're going to see majority of your campaigns where you had the majority of the impression share is going to now be kind of saturated, because all of a sudden there's this additional search volume. Your budgets have been exceeded. You've hit those ceilings, and there's nothing else you can do. Now, Amazon, within their interface, they put in a budgeting rule where you can increase budgets if you hit an ACoS of X amount, but they don't allow you to reduce it if the ACoS gets out of control, or the sales ain't matching up with the spend. And that's a big issue, right? That's a very big issue, and that's where these tools come in place, because you can put rules in place not only with bidding but also with budgets to ensure, okay, if I'm seeing X performance, which means I'm generating X amount of profit, right? I want you to increase my budgets by 20%, 30%. And if it continues, we're seeing day by day these positive results continue to increase. But the moment it starts to kind of the other direction, decrease it. And these tools allow you to automate this whole process, right? You don't want to be going in and manually doing this every day, because there might be 2 or 3 days where you just are not by your computer and you've missed out on a bunch of potential good traffic and sales because you weren't able to kind of increase the budgets. And this is what a lot of people are going to be suffering with now. I've seen this a lot last year. The run up to Q4, and obviously now we've had, well, today they kind of mentioned that it's going to be the 10th and 11th that Prime Day will kind of be going ahead. So there's going to be loads of waves of volume spikes, and you need to be able to kind of react fast enough to take advantage. And reacting is just as important as finding the latest thing on Amazon to take advantage of, because if you react fast, you position yourself well, and you're the one who kind of wins when it comes to sales.
Okay, very useful information. Thanks for explaining everything. So George, is there anything else you would like to share with our viewers that would help them to scale their business through running Amazon advertising and Amazon ads, but doing it in a profitable way?
Yeah, so I think one area that we noticed as well that's somewhat underutilized is the targeting tab. That's been a game changer for us, the targeting tab, because instantly across all your campaigns, you can see which keywords, which ASIN, which type of auto campaign you have running has a good conversion rate, a bad conversion rate, a decent amount of sales, or a bad amount of sales, and you can react very quickly. It gives you all that information within one tab across all campaigns. So that enables you VAs to every day just instantly see, okay, where are we bleeding a lot of money and where are we kind of seeing opportunities where we're generating so many sales that we can push further. So the targeting tab is definitely one to kind of be taken advantage of. And another big kind of issue that we see on a lot of accounts that we audit now as well is the fact that brands are spending so much money to send traffic to their website, but then they're not protecting their real estate. So taking advantage of display ads and just showing your display ads for your ASIN on your product page is so crucial, because then you protect anyone else from serving their ads on the page where your product lives. So the last thing you want to do is you want to kind of spend all your money to bring people to your listing, and then all of a sudden there's, I don't know, a new ASIN that's just come in and they are running at half the price that you are because they're launching, and then all of a sudden just taking a bunch of your sales, because it's going to catch the eyes of your customers, and you've already worked so hard, especially if you're running external traffic and you're bringing all of that back into Amazon. You really do want to protect yourself, and this doesn't cost much. The average cost per click, the cost per 1,000 impressions on these tends to be really reasonable. So that's something else to bear in mind.
Okay, and regarding running the display ads, what do you think are usually sellers not running them because they don't simply know about this defensive strategy? Or is it that some sellers think it's expensive to run ads for their own product page, although you just explained everything, what's kind of the benefit of it, and what's the idea of doing that?
I think display ads, a lot of sellers see it as quite misleading. It doesn't work the same as cost per click traffic. So your ads appear for every 1,000 impressions. And one of the issues with this is display ads does contribute sales that might have gone through PPC or organic already anyway. So it makes the data look way more attractive than it actually is. And sellers find out the hard way when they see these really good kind of results in terms of ACoS and conversion rates. They try and scale display ads, but they just do not see any improvement in sales. It kind of remains consistent. So that's, I think, the big issue Amazon brands have with it. But if you step back from that, especially if you're looking at kind of protecting your brand and protecting your real estate, that in itself shouldn't cost much. But if you're thinking of the logic behind it as well, like that's going to enable you to just show your products. So that in itself is something we do across all the brands we manage, and it tends to, we don't look at the sales, the return it gets. It's always good, but we don't look at that. We don't measure it to provide fluffy, amazing information. We put that aside and say, look, this is to protect the brand, and this is kind of what we do. And we see, like substantial amount of sales that come through these campaigns.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that's a wrap for today. Or do you want to add anything else regarding today's topic, or anything that's on your mind you would like to share?
Yeah, and I think for those who are listening today and they're like, right, okay, actually want to jump on board, and I want to try these tools that George just talked about. I think just to kind of give people an idea of when to tackle what tool. I think begin with, if you've got 1 or 2 ASINs, I would recommend just avoid any tools. Like don't spend any money on any tools just yet. Focus on learning yourself how to kind of take advantage of the interface, understand the different types of campaigns you can create. There's loads of resources out there now where you can learn, so you have a good understanding yourself. implement something like Seller Board, really cheap to put in place, and it just give you a good idea of profitability. So there's a little bit there's quite a bit of manual work to begin with. Now, when you start to get to 5 to 10 items, this is when we'd recommend something like Scale Insights. That's going to be really good for managing 5 or 10. It's fixed cost, so you don't have to worry about percentages and increasing in that sense. And you can put in a wide array of rules. All the rules you can think of, you can actually put it in, and it's built in, so you don't have to really be thinking about the types of rules that you can create. Now, when you start getting into the realms of 20K, 30K a month ad spend, or when you're going into the hundreds of ASINs, this is when you're going to need a tool like PathView. You're going to need a tool like PathView because it's going to be able to manage everything efficiently enough, right? Where you put in a substantial amount of rules. It can even create campaigns for you. It can figure out what keywords, what you're missing, and it'll create these campaigns for you. So it's far more heavily automated, and obviously you still have to keep an eye on it, but that is the more top end tool that we'd recommend people use. So we would recommend going down that process when using tools. There's a lot of other tools out there. I think the biggest concern I have with the other tools is the fact that they do not bear in mind profit and organic growth. They're the two key things you need to see. You need to ensure that, one, you're not limiting any campaigns' organic growth potential, but also, two, you're not cannibalizing PPC spend with potential organic sales that would come anyway. And these are the two tools I think that actually answer those questions and do a really good job of it.
Okay, thank you very much for the breakdown. Definitely helpful for choosing the right tools and helping sellers to manage the PPC more efficiently. Before we go, could you give us an overview? What kind of services exactly do you offer to 7 and 8 figure sellers, and what's the best way to reach out to you or learn more about it if there are sellers watching us and would like to learn more?
Yeah, so the way to reach out is if you go to our website, clearads.agency.com, or just find me, George Maressa. You'll find me on Facebook or something, and just hit me up. Reach out to me, and then the best thing we can do is just give you an audit. I think just have a look at your account, and we'll be very honest and explain to you, whether it's worth whoever you've got managing your account, just continuing to manage your account, doing a good job. It might also be that just need a few tweaks to see some improvements in performance, or you actually need to really consider taking on an agency like ourselves, and all the issues that we found. And these audits are free, so we tend to audit accounts. I personally don't think you should be really looking out to outsource this to anyone if you're not doing around 750,000 to 100 to $1 million a year in sales, only because look, our fees start at 2,500 a month. It'll be better use of your money to put that 2,500 a month into campaigns that you're running at 3 or 4K a month budgets. Put that in there, you're more likely to see more reach, exposure, conversion, sales, etc. So that's what I'd recommend. Happy to talk to anyone about how best to PPC. I know it's becoming more and more an integral part of every account of those who sell on Amazon.
Okay, thank you so much again for your time and for sharing your knowledge. And I hope I see you soon again, either through an interview or at an Amazon Sellers event.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
I hope tips by George were useful for you, and if you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video where our guest Chris Rawlings is sharing some tips what to do if your Amazon advertising performance significantly drops. Check this out.